And good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to Steel News. I'm Ann Vandersteel. Today, we've got a great guest because we're going to be diving into one of the most critical issues facing our country, election integrity. And now that, the Congress has let us down one more time, the SAVE Act, which I said was on life support after it barely made it through on the House. The Senate we knew was going to be problematic. And, now Americans, we know, we've been told the system is secure. Yeah, okay. We've got to stop being lied to. We've got to really stop being told that we're not allowed to even ask questions. I don't know if you've noticed, but a lot of election integrity stuff gets really shadow banned out on the internet. And we're also being told that if we're transparent about all this stuff, it's really dangerous, sources, methods, all this stuff. Folks, the evidence has been piling up. I mean, since 2020, I recall being involved with Patrick Byrne's Deep Rig and helping host the initial rollout of that. I've interviewed many guests, including this one, before several times in the past, actually many times in the past with a lot of these guests on election integrity. And we have all the evidence. We know where the bodies are buried. We know how they did it. Voter rolls have been filled with dead voters, illegal voters, the Joe Biden border disaster. That regime imported millions of illegal voters. I've reported that I've had an IRS high up official tell me that millions of illegals got ITIN numbers, individual taxpayer identification numbers. So it's problematic. The DMV, the motor voter, all this stuff, it's very problematic, including ballot harvesting operations. Machine systems, they've been documented countless times with vulnerabilities. And of course, foreign technology and election infrastructure. Patrick Byrne has broken that down with the great Emil Robinson in painstaking detail. Mike Lindell has talked about it. Many have talked about it. But you know what? The foundation of our republic, it rests on one thing. We have got to be able to trust our elections. And without that trust, we're losing confidence in our government. And when what happens, when that happens, our entire constitutional system has been fractured. And frankly, if it was up to me to call it, I would tell you the constitutional republic is buried and they put a tombstone on us. But it doesn't mean we can't put some life support down there and restore the republic. So we're going to talk about how we can fix this now. Joining me now is the man who has been at the center of the election integrity fight, Jovan Hutton Pulitzer. He's not just an election integrity expert. He's actually a technology expert and inventor. He's also got election system analysts in his bones. And he's also been helping those who sparked the first forensic audits of the voting systems in the United States. His analysis of ballot authentication, chain of custody issues, and digital election infrastructure exposed these vulnerabilities that many Americans had actually never heard about before. But my God, we're going on year 6 since 2020. And Jovan, who has testified before state legislatures, worked with election investigators, and continues to push for transparency in the electoral process, is still out banging the drum. He's joining me right now to talk about what needs to happen in order to restore confidence in our elections. Jovan, it is great to have you. Thank you so much for being here. You really are one of the go-to people, and I'm honored to have you in a close circle of people that I can call up and go, what does this freaking mean exactly? And you explain it.
Well, the banging of the drum, which I didn't know, I didn't know I'd be wearing that drum as a hat because it's banging my head most of the time. But nonetheless, this is a mess. There's several hundred different ways that they mess up our systems. But I want to be careful in one thing to tell everybody, folks, when you rig an election and then you do nothing to prosecute it, you do understand the third leg of that plan. And the third leg of that plan is for you to say, to hell with it, I'm not going to vote again because it doesn't count. Right. You do understand when you get to that point and say, I'm not voting because it doesn't count anyway, you're letting them off the hook because they don't have to rig it because they psychological warfared you out of it. You need to be there when every door is open for every vote, even if it's down to the dog catcher. We've got to be more involved. And that's what we weren't. And that's why we have what we have.
So we have lack of transparency in voter tabulation. We've got chain of custody issues with the ballots. We have machines that I guess we're not allowed to audit these machines. Okay, I mean, this is some of the nonsensical stuff that goes on here. Why do you think the public has never been allowed full transparency into the election process? Is it because what they say that this is sources and methods and it's critical infrastructure, national security, blah, blah, blah? Or is it what?
Well, our elections for decades and decades, they hate to admit it, but we've had selections. We've not had elections. They kind of anoint who they want to be the leader at the time. I think they've even taken turns going back and forth to see who's going to take the most from Americans, and Democrats do it for a while and Republicans do it for a while. Folks, we don't have two parties. We haven't had two parties in eons. We have a uniparty, and it's basically there's only two types of Americans. You want America to withstand and to thrive, or you don't. And so in this, the way they keep you away from it is they basically use a lot of gobbledygook that people don't understand that sounds like they're doing right. Like we use air gap systems and they don't talk to the internet. They don't do this. When in fact, it's all about words. And I'll give you an example so you understand how this wording works. When Barr came up early on in 2020 and said, well, we didn't find enough to make a material difference to make a material difference in the outcome of the election, you got to understand what it means and how they use the words. That means, and if our guy lost by 100,000 votes and you and I got together and we found 90,000 illegals, 90,000 zombies, 90,000 lizards that had voted, and we can prove it, and we walk in, see, we're thinking from our side, we go, oh my God, look at this mess, that they should go, oh, we got to fix this. Well, the rules of the game are if we can't walk in on our own with no help from the systems and show more votes changed that hurt your candidate than that would win the election, that's where you can't make the material difference. So even 90,000, they don't care. Show me 1,000, and then they're going to fight about that 1,000, try to get you back to 99,000, right? And claim you don't have enough. It's all about words. It's a game system from beginning, but that's why we have to know how they do it, because once we learn how they do it, that's the only way we can push back on it. And it's a very exact science that comes down to words.
And again, the legalese, the attorneys, they're very good with word manipulation. It's been wordsmithing. I think Bill Clinton sort of codified that when he was testifying about Monica Lewinsky and the blue dress incident.
Well, it's because he didn't have sexual relations. Everybody knows that he didn't have sexual relations.
It depends on what the definition of is.
That's right.
So from welcome from BC, Canada. We got British Columbia, Canada here. Thanks for being here, Elizabeth. They actually care about our elections because Canada is our good neighbor to the north, and they have been just as screwed over as we have. So
yes, they
glad
have.
that they're here. Okay, let's talk about the SAVE Act. Then I'm going to come back and sort of dissect all the issues, because right now the SAVE Act, we all thought, Save America Act, SAVE Act is the voting act. This is going to be it. Congress is with us. They want elections to be solved. What a bunch of BS, Jovan. It's a bunch of, they don't want problems solved. They want to campaign on problems because that's how they raise money. And that's how they keep.
Yeah, you got to have problems to raise money. You got to have chaos to raise money. You got to have victims to raise money. And you got to have some people killed to raise money. That's just the way it works in their world, right? That's it. And we're the ones that are expendable. Now let's talk about the SAVE Act. In premise, remember, if the system wants to turn your little boy into a little girl, they'll have expanding the male horizons with new thoughts plan. Okay, SAVE Act is not SAVE Act. SAVE Act is steps towards it. It makes sense towards it. And yes, we should have ID and we should have citizenship. Now, this comes down from the federal side, but then you have to understand we have 50 state elections that happen to have federal components. We don't really have federal elections. We used to a long time ago, and then they moved them together. Now, what that means is the state then takes up with the rulemaking. So yes, there should be IDs in elections. Now let's get to the state. You can get to Arizona that says, well, an ID can be a junior college card or a copy of your cable bill, etc. Right. Well, what happens? They bring in an illegal. You've got to learn the language. Hey, go take this free course at the college. By the way, make sure you get an ID. Boom, all of a sudden you've got ID. So it really, again, it comes down to the words. If we're going to have true and accurate elections, there's no such thing as a fair election, true and accurate elections, that ID must be defined. Now, that ID must be a valid driver's license or valid, legally accepted ID, such as your passport, with a verification that you are an American citizen. Remember, illegals, the first thing they tell them to do is go get an ID. So we've got to really work on these words. Now, will the SAVE Act close this? No, the SAVE Act won't close it. And again, it goes to the state. Let's take California. Here's how California does voter ID. You come in, you have to have voter ID. They basically go, you have to have voter ID. And the person go, yeah. And they go, here, sign this. Here, sign this. That piece of paper says, I, under the testament of perjury, guarantee that I have ID and I'm not lying, and they sign. Now, did they ever transact ID? No. They basically gave you a form that you swear you have ID, that it is valid ID, and that, under penalty of perjury, you could go to jail if you're lying, but they only get that piece of paper. Now, is that checking somebody's ID? I know it sounds ridiculous, but if we don't clearly define what these are, they will always find ways around it. And yes, the SAVE Act is good, and the SAVE Act is a start, but it does not save us.
Right. And again, this is what I see problematic here in Florida and our state legislatures and a variety of things that we're battling right now during the legislative session. It is, they put just enough in there for the non-discerning voter or citizen. Oh, that's great. But then you read the fine print. Like recently, we've fought like hell to remove the punishment should we speak out against big ag and glyphosate, right? They took this punishing legal language that will allow them to sue us into an oblivion, to frankly off the planet. We got it removed, but it was a hell of a dogfight. But a lot of other stuff, including election, quote, integrity bills here in Florida, are woefully underperforming. They don't have the meat in there to what you're talking about here, Jovan.
Well, what the legal team spend time on is how to neuter it, but make it sound like effects.
Right.
That's
exactly
the game.
What they do.
It's not writing the bills. It's how can you write a bill that does nothing, says nothing, enforces nothing, but make the population believe it's great.
Right. Okay. So what is it then? I mean, if the SAVE Act is DOA, I put up somebody's post here a minute ago. Let's see here. Is this gentleman was responding to Robert Fulmer was responding to leader John Thune. I know you have no love lost there. And he said, so the Senate under your watch, meaning John Thune, finds the time to vote to potentially tie up President Trump's hands, but they will not vote to pass the Save America Act or even vote to reopen the government and fund DHS. You are an absolute joke. He posted that a little bit ago. Comments on that?
Well, this is all by design. This is why some people get confirmed or don't. This is how they've molested and perverted the system, because when you realize that there are people under the president that have more power than the president. Hell, we all learned that a Maricopa County recorder has far more power than the president of the United States. So when you look at somebody like Thune, they know what they're doing, right? It's all kind of bargaining chips. And so they're linking it to DHS and enforcement of illegals, and then to this SAVE Act. They have no desire to do the SAVE Act. But they already know, I'm telling you right now, they know the SAVE Act is primarily neutered at its deepest state. It'll do some things, but not all things. They'll try to trade it, I guess, and for inside of not having to force the border or not having to deport so many people, etc. And this is the way they do it. They push it right up to the wire. But you are seeing people that claim they're American, claim they're conservatives, claim they're patriots, and they are not. Folks, you better get really real. If they're a politician and they're speaking, they're lying. I'm sorry, but it's the truth. If they're a politician and speaking, they're lying. And the reason you should not take offense to that, it is our job to instruct and inform our politicians of what we want done. It lies with us. We don't do it. We gave them the power to become celebrities and think they do it and they're ruling, right? That's wrong, folks. It's our job. And so the bottom line, if they're talking without your input, without your direct influence of how and what should work, they're lying. It's that simple. Right. Trust no one.
And OK Sooner says money's involved, which I think is pretty self-evident at this point.
You better believe it. You better believe it.
So
what about the days where we used to think $100 billion, we're going to go in with $100 or $200 billion bill structure to do this, that was a big deal. Now it's trillions and we don't blink. Come on.
Well, we don't even read it, Jovan. That's just it. We don't read it. We just pass it.
Well, we can read it after it's passed.
I love it. Crystal's in here with cut the crap. Facts. They are all bought and paid for and do not listen to us. Crystal, you are 100% right. And OK Sooner agrees with you. So, Jovan, what is the president? I was at the General Flynn's recent election integrity event he had in DC. And I interviewed some interesting folks, Will Huff, for one, and others. And the resounding takeaway was the president has got to do something on a national emergency level. And get an election order. Can you walk us through what that looks like? And I know you have some stuff you want to share with us. I want to give you the opportunity to do that. But I just want, from my audience, your pristine perspective.
Not a problem. The Democrats, in order to pull off with the Republicans what they did in 2020 and their coup, because they never really wanted Donald Trump in 2017, for the very first time in history, they put our elections under critical infrastructure. Now, by putting it under critical infrastructure, January 6, 2017,
Right.
it gave them some interesting ability to make up new rules. Like, oh, we got this pandemic. Well, you got to stay away, social distancing. How'd they know in 2017? Oh, that's right. It's a pandemic. Anyway, so when they dropped this all under critical infrastructure, they actually gave a present to us today. Now, that present is, since it's critical infrastructure, it actually puts it right smack dab in President Trump's hands. You got to look at it this way. They thought they were being crafty. Once these things are done, they're not done. So what happens here is this actually gives President Trump under critical infrastructure. Now, remember, under the federal conditions of everything, federal critical infrastructure, it's up to the president to set policy. It's up to the president to supervise the executive branch, get it done. And it's up to the president to ensure that it actually happens. Now, that sector is DHS and what is ultimately called CISA. It all falls under what's called PPD 21. That's the policy if you want to get geeky about it and look it up. It says this has to be secure. What I am suggesting President Trump did, we've been beating on this for a while. I was hoping he'd do it at the State of the Union. Didn't come through, but at least now Thune gave him another gift. When it comes to Homeland Security, and you understand that under infrastructure, the president gets to call the shots, this basically paves the way for the president to go in and say, look, our elections are compromised. Now, you might think about the Democrats might want to push back. Well, you got to remember all of 2016, all of 2017, 18, 19, even to now, they swear that Russia controlled our systems, and that's what put Trump's in. So they can't really back off that. So now that we have the left saying there's problems, now that we found illegals on the voter rolls, and it keeps on happening, now that we found that there's excessive mailing of envelopes done, etc., this perfect stage has kind of been set, I believe, for the president under critical infrastructure to say, wait a minute, I agree with the Democrats.
Mm-hmm.
Our elections are compromised. And you know what? They're possibly compromised by Russia. I'd actually say it. And since they're compromised, you know what? Because we have all these break-ins, we have voter rolls being stolen, we have data being stolen, etc. The president should do an order that says, effective immediately, we are going to conduct an investigation of our voter rolls. It's not voting machines, has nothing to do with the voting companies. It doesn't matter. It doesn't get into any of that junk. You've got to remember, and you can verify this yourself. Barack Obama, when he came in first term, got 69 million votes, popular votes. Second term, 68. Hillary came in, Hillary got 65. Then we got Joe Biden, which is 81, the big FU. And then we got Kamala with 68 million. In the election recently with Donald Trump. But in the year and several months that has passed since that election, Kamala somehow mysteriously now has over 75 million votes. Now, I want you to think about that. That election has been over since November 4th or 5th, whatever it was. Okay?
Yeah.
And now that we're a year and several months past, She has over 75 million votes. What they're doing is they're closing that window on Biden's ridiculous number. Now,
Correct.
you got to believe she's better than Hillary. You got to believe she's better than the Messiah of Obama, et cetera. What they're really doing is they've used these elections in between these 5 or 6 years we've been fighting to kind of cross-validate what they did. So they let these fake voters vote in smaller elections or vote in the primaries or vote in the midterms. What they're doing is cross-validating them so they can say, look, they're real. They kept on voting. So
Right.
they've inched her up. Now that tells me when we get to the midterms, we're in trouble.
That's
My
right.
prediction is we're not going to win the House. We probably won't even win the Senate again. They're going to impeach Trump. He's going to have an issue with the emoluments clause, and it's going to be all hell breaking loose.
That's right.
This is what they're planning for. Now, knowing that, get ready. See, the president can act on this if the rules are the following. If CISA makes a determination that there are security issues. Now, CISA has to issue a memo and has to issue an action plan. Well, CISA did that. CISA did that in 2020. CISA came out, and you got to understand why they did this. Before the election, only half of our states had their numbers in. When Chris Krebs came out from CISA, that was the director at the time, and said this was the safest, most secure election ever. Now, at that time, you might have wondered, why is he saying that? We don't even have all the counts in. Well, you have to understand, you can't do any battling on the legal level, federal or state, if CISA says there wasn't a problem. Most people don't know that. You have to have CISA concur. And so what CISA did way back then, it's clear as day to see it now, they did a preemptive strike because the first tipping point to get action is CISA must acknowledge it, issue a memo on it, and issue a corrective action plan. And if they don't think they need to do that because nothing was wrong, well, then you got to understand nothing was wrong. Well, that's now a gift for President Trump all this time later. Why? Because CISA has, in fact, issued a plan. It's just regarding the 2020 election. The Democrats actually issued a plan. There were 12 security reports, and there were over 20 high-level university peer-reviewed papers that absolutely in their times proved Russia did it. So now the president can take that, and he's got one little thing over here that he can now call. As soon as Mitch McConnell said, I'm not putting forth the plan, the safe plan, I'm not putting it forth, Mitch McConnell gave him an opportunity, because the loophole is if Congress doesn't act,
right,
then the president can come in. Well, now Congress didn't act.
Right.
And now they didn't act again with Thune because he's not putting it up. So what we have is this perfect storm under critical infrastructure. Now, here's what I'm saying. It has nothing to do with the running of the election. I want to get this straight. You got to understand how to handle it. It's basically would be President Trump coming out. We all acknowledge our elections are broken. We all acknowledge we have a problem. Therefore, we are going to temporarily suspend the use of our voter rolls until a time we can confirm they are safe. Now, the president has that power. He has the power to say not another person can be put on the voter rolls right now, and they have to do it on the day they show up. Now, if he does that, here's what happens. You're not going to be able to print mail-in ballots. You're not going to be able to print early ballots because you technically have no rolls. What that forces is if the state does want to continue with mail-in ballots, the citizens have to re-request. If a citizen wants an early ballot, the citizen has to re-request. Now, let's say a certain amount of people are going to do that, and a lot of them are not there. Well, it basically doesn't stop anybody from voting. And here's what you have to know. As an American, you have absolute right to cast a vote. Cast a vote. What is the definition of cast? It
putting
means
your vote in a box or in a machine or whatever. But
they have an obligation.
What happens on the other side of that, like the counting?
That's right. They have to give you a ballot,
Yeah,
and you have to give them back that ballot. That is the casting of a vote.
right.
You do not have the right to have that ballot that is cast count the way you cast it. Only one state actually has that right. And ironically, it's California.
Yeah,
And
that's
so,
mind
since the
blowing.
law specifically says cast a vote, then President Trump just says, look, nobody's going to be turned away. Doesn't matter. Show up with your ID. Doesn't matter. Nobody's going to be turned away. Now, when you come in, when you say that, you'll be asked for it. We're going to see your driver's license, and we're going to verify you're a citizen. If that's the case, then that ballot's going to be handed, it's going to be cast, and it's going to go all the way through the system. If somebody shows up and we can't confirm they're a citizen, it's no different than it is right now. You just cast a provisional. You're still casting a vote. And then the onus is on the county and state to vet that provisional, which would require prove their citizenship, which most of them couldn't do. See, that's the loophole in it. You don't have the right to vote. You have the right to cast a vote.
Cast.
All we're doing is a temporary pause. Now, what this means is we get to shut down mass mailing without changing the law, because the president can't change the law. He can't change anything with the execution of the election. It just means you got to give the states and counties enough time that they can flex to operate this way, but it doesn't change a single law. It is a suspension of a compromised system. Now, bottom line, if your credit card company thinks somebody's compromised your credit card, what happens? They notify you, they suspend your card.
Correct.
They do an investigation. This is standard operating procedure.
Right.
So be very careful. It's not getting rid of mail-in ballots. It is not getting rid of anything. It's just acknowledging we got problems in our system. We're going to focus on the voter rolls. We're going to make sure they're solid. So for this election coming to midterms, you're going to come in. Everybody gets to vote. You got to be legal age. You got to be a resident. Got to show an ID. We'll vet it. Don't worry. We're not going to turn you away. You're going to get to vote. You're going to cast that ballot. It just puts the onus back here, and we can have a safer system, and we're not going to dump millions of ballots into the system. And the president has this ability to do it, and he can do it with a simple proclamation, but he's got to do it fast, because we've got to give the states time to put this into measure. You can't make any change to the voting rolls 90 days before the election. It's going to take him 90 days to get everything shored up. I say he's probably got 60 more days, maybe, to make this proclamation, and all the timelines will fall into place, and we're not going to have that mail-in ballot junk we had before.
Okay. So I want to give you a breather here and just think about this. First of all, Douglas here, he's one of our MMTLP folks. He says, thanks for the interview. I'm feeling some hope for election integrity. Jovan, you are one of the bright spots on the front that are coming up with solutions. Here's where my concern is. And I just speak for myself. I can't speak for the people in the chat or anybody else, but with this distraction, this war going on, the Israeli-U.S. war with Iran, there is some potential for other partners, other countries to get involved, whatever. But the president is very focused on that right now. We've got another operation going on in Ecuador, terrorists. We've just had a regime change. And well, it's not even a regime change. We just ripped out the president and brought him here, Maduro. So what is the propensity to get the president's attention and wrapped around this? Because we wouldn't, I submit to you, we wouldn't be in this position right now if we had real elections all along. So we've got warmongers like Lindsey Graham that are still running, and, a lot of things going on. I'm just, I'm concerned about our country from that perspective, and I want election integrity. Do you think the president is going to pay attention to a very simple solution that you and others are using similar language to you are trying to convince the president, hey, this is a national emergency. We need intervention while we still have you able to intervene?
The issue is not the president. And I can tell you that from sitting down with him at hours at a time going through it. The issue is not Donald J. Trump. The issue is the people around Donald J. Trump, period.
Mm-hmm. Anybody you want to single out here?
I have said it before. I think Susie holds it up, and I think Susie has her definition. Susie Wiles has her definition of what is election integrity, and it's to focus on the machines crap that does nothing. That's not going to help anything. But they've, It's all decided by donations. Donate big and we'll promote you. Anyway, I look at all of these connected. Let me tell you why. When he went in to Latin America and did what he did,
Right.
that was not just a strike at the country for a bad leader. That was one of the pipelines for the big money.
Correct.
And it is that pipeline of money that is paying off a lot of these officials in places like Arizona, et cetera. So
agree.
you can either wait for the system, which they're doing. You can either go after all these elected officials, and I can tell you under the radar, they have tracked an incredible amount of this money and who's doing it. And you can fight that and we'll get it in court 2 or 3 years later, maybe, or you can go cut off the head of the snake. What I see in doing that particular move was cutting off drug money and a head of a snake, making not us run in circles, making the drug lords run in circles of the money they had been shoveling in because they had to rebuild all these resources and everything. Now, the other side of it is Middle Eastern money, whether we like it or not.
Right.
Our own money going to the Middle East, our own money paying for terrorists, our own money paying for Antifa, BLM, and all those guys in the streets. That's our money and Middle Eastern money. Yeah. I think what he did is went and cut the head off the snake. Those pipelines freeze. Fast.
Are we going to get any information out of Maduro with respect to the machine intervention? Do you think that have they interviewed him on this? Have they, taken his statement on what's going on?
Okay, so let me ask you a question. I heard that there was a guy that ran the elections in Venezuela, and he personally rigged every candidate in Venezuela and got his candidates elected.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me how you prosecute them in the United States.
Well, you can't on that. That's their problem. But if Maduro...
Whoa.
Did I misunderstand what you said? Maybe. I'm not sure.
No. I'm telling you, you can chase Venezuela all you want. Even the leader, Maduro, it does not matter because you know what? It's still hearsay in the court. Even if he says, I screwed every election in the world, I personally changed the code between burritos. I did it. You can't use it. It's Venezuela. It's that simple.
Even if we have, so in other words, these foreign actors in Serbia, for instance, that have testified and have been
brought
against
the law.
It's not against the law.
It's not against the law to use coders that are in other countries.
Interesting.
Look, they're making.
I just learned something very significant.
There's a lot of people that I love. Mutual people we know. I don't buy into this stuff. You cannot convict and stop anything in our United States because a piece of code was written in a foreign country. We don't have those guidelines or rules. And even if we did, hold on, let's say we did. Look it up yourself, folks. It's called the EAC.gov, EAC.gov. And here's the name of the rules. It's called the VVSG. You can look it up yourself, VVSG. Now get ready. Here's
Voluntary voting system guidelines.
Voluntary voting system guidelines.
Yep.
Basically means, get ready, I'm going to put the badass on there. I screwed it all. Well, you screwed it. You used bad software. Well, I actually thought it was good. They let us make a choice, and I just used our best judgment, and this is what my boss said. Gee golly williker.
Okay.
Who do you ever put in jail for screwing up or violating voluntary guidelines? Give me one.
Okay. Even if they knowingly are collaborating with foreign actors to interfere.
There's no intent. There's no intent. How can you have intent in a voluntary process? On the crime side, if they do it literally with the state, not the election commission who approves this, if you willingly do that, you got to have intent. You can't have intent when this authorization is this high. You got to understand what we do. The Election Assistance Commission approves a profile of a machine and this software. All the state is obligated to do is to order that machine that has that software. It is not against the law to put anything else on the machine. It's not a crime.
Wow.
That's
So
under
Jovan, you've
security, and you can
literally
say I made the wrong choice. Sorry, I put the wrong one on. It was a boo-boo.
you have literally blown my mind because again, we've heard that the Dennis Montgomery stories and all this hullabaloo. It doesn't even matter at the end of the day. But what you're saying, all that was a massive distraction. And I don't know why. I'm being very honest here. This is the first time I've heard anybody say it like this. That makes any amount of sense to me. And the fact that you have Susie Wiles still listening to this and hasn't been educated on what you just said, a simple sentence, it to me is mind blowing that we
Well,
are
they know
sitting
what
here.
they're doing, keeping it in the machine category. Look,
Sure,
it was
they're
an
allowing the fraud.
accident. I didn't know. It was a boo-boo. I didn't mean to. It
Yep.
worked for Hillary Clinton. I didn't know I
So why
couldn't
is
have
Tina
it
in
on my
jail then?
server.
Why is Tina in jail then?
You want the
This
real
is if it's
answer? I'll give you the real answer if you want it.
yeah, I want the real answer.
Because Mike Lindell's an absolute idiot, and he brought in idiots who I believe ran a con job. The system needed somebody at that time to set up. Gold Star mom, great talker, great looking woman. She is on file saying nothing's wrong with my state, nothing's wrong with my county. They fly in Dr. Frank. She didn't want to meet with him. She gets pushed to meet with Dr. Frank. Dr. Frank on the record says, I want to test a theory. A theory. And he convinces her to let her look. And then they convince her, oh, something's really wrong. And they followed a process that got her in jail. Now, all of the steps that were crimes were what they committed. Code Monkey releasing the video online of the password, he's the one that did that. All the other people that were the cyber dolphin spinkers bullshit, they broke the crimes. None of them are in court. They nailed Tina. That's why they got Tina at the state, not the federal. You think it's any coincidence? It was 30 days before our next election. They didn't want another county recorder to stand up, and they needed to take a county recorder down. Tina Peters was a setup. Not at the court level, not her getting justice. They got airtight case for what she did. It was other people. She let them in the door. That Mike Lindell owns. His team got her put in prison.
Okay. I'm just going to push back on Mike Lindell. Love Mike Lindell. I don't believe this is his plan to set Tina up. Just saying. I don't want to. I don't want to.
I'm going to call you out on the words. I don't believe it's his plan to set Tina up.
Go.
You know what? I don't agree with it was his plan either. I don't think Mike's smart enough, and his ADD won't let him plan it. So I'm going to agree with you. It's not his, but was he used? Was he used? Was he promoted? Was he infiltrated? You better believe it. And you know what?
That.
Either Mike has the worst ADD in the world, he does. But you know what? I was knocking on his door for months, telling him, this is what's coming. This is what's going on. This is what's going to happen. He listened to nothing. So either Mike is that stupid or Mike's in on it. Sorry.
Yeah. This is
I don't think,
fracturing moments.
Look, it is what it is. People don't understand how this works. There was no need for any steps on it. Even people talk about the Mesa report. Look at it. You can see it. The laws read the follow. You must show what votes changed and who it benefited and how they did it. What is the Mesa report? It looked like this, then these are missing. And then it's this. Now, when you do an update on your phone, does it leave all the shit you had on your phone? No. When you update your computer, does it leave all the shit that's there and just keep on piling up? No. What is a critical update? Add, subtract, add, subtract, add, subtract. What'd they do? Nefarious, yes. Critical update. But the bottom line is, even that report looks great. Technobabble, it is a psychedelical fractal polynomial crackle-dackle. But when you look at it, all it says is, hey, we look at a snapshot here, and these are missing. Oh my God, fraud. You've got to show the vote, that the vote was changed, and then that vote was counted, and you have to show how it's done. And
so are you saying they did not show that? They did not show the votes were changed?
None of them will come on. Hey, I'll tell you right now, bring them all on. Show me one vote. Show me the actual change.
Trump lost Colorado.
Not the opportunity to change a vote. See, that's not the point, Ann. You don't understand.
Right.
In court, you must show how it was changed. Not that it was changed. You got to show how. Because remember, in all of this, this is the catch. The only thing that does this is the ballot. In the machine, you can't see it. It's all in the wash. You've got to show a net effect, not enough to make a material difference to the outcome. You can show somebody over there cheated 90,000 times, but if the good candidate lost by 100,000, that 90,000 don't count towards it unless you can prove it's more than the outcome of the election.
Mhm.
You've got to understand this. This is an information operation. Do you
Sure
think
is.
people sit back and go, boom, 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 I'm going to put a vote here. I'm going to put a vote here. No, it's all high intel information. The reason they're in the systems is to know the vote. But they've got to put in a vote here, a vote here, a vote here, a vote here, because they can never break the precinct. That is not just loading it in. That's a very sophisticated operation. But if you can't identify that vote and you can't show where it happened, which only exists in the ballot, that's why it's so critical. You can't prosecute. No, by the way, if you go in and you delete 1 million votes in an election,
Okay.
what is your criminal penalty?
I don't know. It's probably not in the code.
Oh, it's
Probably
not
no
in the code.
statutory code.
It's a $1,000 fine if it happens. But
Oops, I deleted some votes. Sorry.
you got it. You have to
Yeah.
prove intent. And you just say, oh shit, I'm sorry. Now,
Yeah.
do it with 100,000 ballots, which is paper. Get ready for this. Each ballot is a federal and a state felony automatically. Now, do you
Okay.
understand why they keep us away from the paper? So it
Yep.
doesn't even matter. If you show 1 million votes deleted in the machines, it's the Hillary effect. Oh, I didn't mean to. I didn't know that. Oh,
I didn't know I wiped my servers with a
golly.
cloth.
You mean beating phones with a hammer is not really a standard procedure for cleaning them up of viruses? You have to show intent. It's the freaking law. So
Yeah.
who cares? That's why I said from the very beginning, go back to Arizona when I pissed everybody off. I said, I don't give a shit about the machines. I just don't care about the machines because there's no enforcement. There's
Right.
no enforcement. But I
Yep.
know one thing, the paper always tells the truth.
That's right.
You follow the paper, you can find out what happens. And that is what's required in a court of law, because all that has to happen in any of this,
Intent.
we could catch every of these guys. I didn't know. You mean that wasn't really a security update? It was the Venezuelan drug lord gang GoFundMe Act Blue donation click, and that's what it was? Dang, I didn't know. No intent.
Yeah.
This
So
is
what you're saying,
frustrates me
no
about
mass arrests. Tina is incarcerated because of stuff she didn't do. It was
not
her
yeah.
own.
See, no, they set up Tina. Tina's on the record. Here's the deal, and this is why I said they're not going to bust Tina free. President Trump can't bust her free. Come on, I've had these discussions with Peter Ticken, with all of them.
Okay.
They did it right. This was a setup. They knew to do it exactly in the state purview to keep President Trump out of it. But damn it, she is in an interview at the very beginning, which I think was either done by Atlantic or New York Magazine. It was Dr. Frank bragging about, I get to test my theory and I'm going to do this.
Yep.
Which, by the way, here's how he Here's how he did it. The reason I know, and let's just see if you can follow the math here. The reason I know that Tina's county was corrupt is because I went and looked at the 2010 census. Yeah, 10 years before the election. I took how many people were alive then, and I kind of carried it over here. And then I looked at the results of 4 counties in Michigan. And that's how I know Tina's was rigged. Audit me. Audit my words. That's on the record. And that is what convinced the county recorder that all your machines are bad. This is it, and switching votes. Nobody bothered to ask the math magician, because that's what it is. Wait, prove this. Let's run it. By the way, just so you know, we ran the math. A 1 in 80 billion chance of being correct. 1 in 80 billion chance of being correct. And so what happened is, under pressure for somebody that got paid to go there, Tina was courted. Tina was said, you're going to be a hero, right? and
Right.
let us look. Now, here's another thing people never put together. We all got promoted to Cyber Symposium, right? You're
Right.
going to see 3,300 counties. You're going to see it. We got all the lawmakers in. They're going to take their people. They'll take the data back to their constituents, their tech guys. They can look at it and vet it. Well, let me just ask you a simple question. Number one, we never got that. Number two, Mike Lindell under oath mentioned he never had it. Under oath. I never had it. But let's think about this. We had a cyber symposium. The moment they're supposed to drop everything, Tina magically shows up. Tina didn't want to be there. Tina also didn't want to go on stage. She gets there flying on Mike Lindell's jet. What are the odds that the FBI in Colorado do the raid the moment she's on the jet? How did they know? Secondly, what was the story about Tina? She's fleeing justice. She didn't want to be caught. So she gets to Colorado. She does not want to be on stage. She does not want to talk. She's in absolute tears. Don't make me do this. They convince her to go on, and then it becomes the Tina show. And how convenient. The very guy that released, think about this, the very guy that released the passwords, which she was put into jail for, is also the guy going to show you the proof. But what does he say when he gets on screen as a monkey? Oh, I've been told by my attorney I better not talk about this in the open because I believe these were stolen. What a fucking perfect setup. They've now told the world Tina stole it. Are you kidding me? And then it became the Tina show. We never saw Pecaps ever.
Yeah.
Set up from the very beginning.
Wow, Jovan.
And that's my opinion. And
okay, and that's
you
your
can check
opinion.
it off. You can.
Have you had a chance? Have you had a chance to talk to the people very close to the Tina Peters camp about this? Have you talked to Apollo or anybody? I just, you know what I mean? Just,
well, there's Tina Peters camp, and then there's Tina Peters ticks and lurches and leeches. Which one?
Okay. People.
Do I talk to Tina Peters people that care about her or are there and been protecting her, or do I talk to podcasters that claim save her, raise money? No, I don't talk to the podcasters. I could give a rat's ass what they say. Right, do I talk directly to her and the information? Yeah, I've talked to them and they know it. And I've been through this. I haven't held anything back. I fought this forever, even saying anything, and then realized if I don't say anything, I'm contributing to the problem. But come on. Literally, she had to be convinced something was wrong and to test a theory. It's on the record. I want to test a theory. And that testing of a theory, which has a 1 in 80 billion
Dr.
chance,
Frank.
is Dr. Frank. He says it. It's an interview with Atlantic. I want to test a theory. Yeah. And that's what he told Tina. I just want to test the theory. And then when they all ganged up on her, all of them, and you got people like Dr. Frank, you got Mark Cook, you got Colonel Sean Smith, you got all these different people all telling her, no, this is real or whatever, and you're going to be a hero. I believe she was manipulated. And when it came about clicks and it came about, I'm saving America, donate now to my fund, buy a bill, or go to sleep, they forgot Tina. And the system took down Tina for it. But then when I look at it, look how fast that trial went, and it comes out exactly 30 days before the big election. That was a shot to county recorders. Shut the hell up, or we're going to do the same to you.
Yeah.
For me,
that was
it's
obvious.
Plain as day. Plain as day. But the technicalities in it are the following. They did it at the state level, so they did it right.
Right.
It's not at the federal level. And the things that were supposedly done none of them were done by Tina. Not a one. They were done by code monkeys and Dr. Franks and dolphin speakers. And how convenient is it that Dennis Montgomery with Mike Lindell's Pecaps, well, he can't talk. He's a CIA asset. He's protected. We can't show it for the next 80,000 years. Yeah, they did a ruling in 2007, which has nothing to do with it. And then we get the same surfer dude for Tina, and he also can't testify because he's an asset. Let me ask you a question. The people that are inserting their people, aren't you inserting your experts to blow this shit open? That means you need them to talk about it. Why do we consistently experts but then they can't talk because they're protected. How stupid is that?
It's not a good strategy. It's
Well,
definitely not a strategy.
doesn't that distinct to you? We
Yeah,
got two of the two biggest wonkers, both tied together, same people, same group, both happen to have the key people that figured it out, that busted it, that got the data, did it all and everything else. Well, I can't talk about it because I'm protected by CIA. Sorry, I can't testify. That's not a freaking coincidence. Come on. I'm not that stupid. The public's not that stupid. I'm sorry.
So there's some folks that agree with you in here. DPFS 98. He agrees with what you're saying. Kevin Stevens is saying our founders warned us against political parties. They were prescient. Behold, and yeah, we behold what you're talking about, the uniparty. And they needed, and this gentleman here, okay, sooner they need to get to Tina to get into her system. But again, so
Tina's guilty of opening the door and trusting.
And trusting.
She
That I agree.
trusted people. I'm telling you, if somebody has to tell you, I'm a patriot, the patriot of the most patriot than anybody else, patriot. Oh, and I want you to know I'm a Christian. God bless you. Let me say something. God bless you. That's all for show. If you have to tell somebody it, you got a problem with it, and that's a persona. And she got cracked in that stuff. She just got cracked. People tell you, you can be your hero. Who doesn't want to be your hero? But do you think it's a coincidence? Solid red, no problems ever reported, ever, that they got one. To me, it was a signal. It was a signal to every county recorder in the world. Do it. And by the way, we all donated money to make it happen.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. You know, I don't know if we ever did we talk about this, Jovan? The night of the cyber symposium, a gentleman went there who met with Surfer Dude and Surfer Dude said, "Hey, are these real Pecaps?" And this gentleman said, "No, they're not election Pecaps. They look like retail store Pecaps." And so after that, Mike Lindell had some incident in an elevator. Then the next morning, Phil Waldron went on stage and said we had somebody trying to infiltrate and provide bad data. And we caught them and all this stuff. There was like a big hullabaloo. That gentleman that I was telling you about that identified the bad Pecaps ended up being found dead in his apartment 2 weeks later. Unusual circumstances.
Well, the poison pill excuse that came out, we think there's a poison pill, we can't give them out. Absolute lie. Secondly, I know where the Pecaps were created. I was given that information way back then.
Were they created in a retail store?
And that program that does that resides on Dennis Montgomery's server.
Oh, boy.
Which is now owned exclusively by Mike Lindell. They're all bullshit. You put them in. You say where you want it to go. Let me ask you a question. In order to have Pecaps of 3,300 counties, see, nobody thinks logically.
Right.
Okay, ready? Here's what this means. In order for you to do this, you've got to monitor 50 states, 3,300 counties, 175,000 precincts in real time. You've got to know where it's coming from. You got to watch where it's going to. You got to watch where it was routed. You got to watch where it came back. You got to watch where it went back into the system. And then you've got to know that that is what went to the EAC. It's all bullshit. It's plausible in a movie, but is it real?
I remember the graphic.
Somebody's sitting there with it's a graphic.
Yeah, the graphic with all the colors going in and out of China and Russia into the United States and back and forth. I think Mary Fanning put that out there a lot.
Yes, Mary Fanning put that shit out there. Mm-hmm. And I called Mary Fanning on it. She hates my guts now for calling her out and said, Mary.
Oh, she hates mine too, don't worry.
You bragged that you're ex-CIA. You are what brought Dennis Montgomery in. Mike Lindell's shooting his damn documentary. I get there to do my part. You're directing the whole thing and every word. It's you on the phone telling people what to say, which is exactly why I told Mike, you cannot use my shit. Cut me out. I'm not going to be any part of this.
Yeah.
And you, all of this conveniently, and then Mike used the excuse, well, we can't use Dennis Montgomery into Pecaps because he's under a particular order. That's an order in 2007.
Mhm.
Has nothing to do with the
State
election in
secrets.
2020.
State secrets.
But it's crap because of where they want to take it. It's nothing. It's graphics. It's psychological warfare. But what happened is everybody stayed on the machines.
Yeah.
If you stay on the machines, it is all voluntary. Now, I can see how a lot of people got sucked in. I can see it.
Oh, yours
But
truly. I believed it because it just seemed like such an easy explanation. But
that's how psychological warfare
once I
works.
recognized the error of my ways, it took me a few years to get a lot of information because I don't just focus on elections. But once I got hip to a lot of other things, and particularly how certain people behave, aka Mary Fanning, Dennis Montgomery, I realized it was all bullshit.
Well, think about this. How many of those people do we have floating around? How does somebody that's ex-CIA get put into this little election integrity group? How does somebody like Mike Lindell put his mathematician, who was really a choir teacher, but really comes from DARPA, but never has anybody verify the math? How does Mike say, wait a minute, let me get this right? What you did to confirm what happened in the election, you told everybody you went to the 2010 census. And you're trying to say that somehow the time you came up with the formula, you had all the election data for all the counties. By the way, 21 states hadn't reported yet when you came out with that shit. How'd you get it? And then you based it on 4 counties in Michigan. Why did nobody ask these questions?
That translates to Colorado.
No, he says he nailed it 100% to every single county in the United States of America. Does nobody think, that one person did 745 presentations, broke across the country.
How do you do that?
How do you do one freaking presentation when you're broke and you don't get paid for this, but yet you did 745? How do you do that? Do you not eat? Where'd you sleep? On the freaking street? How'd you travel? How did that manage to happen?
Yeah. Unbelievable.
Look at you and I. You and I do this all the time, and we got to foot our own damn bill.
Yeah, that's right. I was in DC on my own dime.
We want to go to an intelligence briefing to try to help out. We're going to drop a couple of grand just so our butts can be there, just so we can help. But we got a total broke person making 700 presentations across the United States, presenting to Secretary of States. How did they get in with the Secretary of States?
Yeah.
Who paved that way?
Yeah.
I'm just telling you, for me, all of it stinks. Now, this has made me the most hated man in election integrity. You know why? Here's why. I have to admit, I don't play nice. I play to win. And there's only one win here. We either save the United States of America or it's over. Yeah. It is so focused for me, that's it. If that means, well, don't call somebody's out because they're a patriot. People get pissed at me. You're telling me don't call somebody out who has continually told you on the airway they're a patriot. I'm looking at something different. I'm calling out that something's broken. And by the way, I don't think anybody could be that ignorant and not get it and not see it, especially with all the calls and emails I was sending. Wait a minute. So that just tells me something stinks. Yep. But you know what? I'm never going to be the nice guy. I'm intense. Yes. I'm freaking ruthless. I have incredible standards. I don't compromise when it comes to my country. That's it. Now, if that means I walk alone permanently, I get it. I understand that. It breaks my heart. But I am never going to turn away from the truth of here's how it's done. Now, that makes a lot of people not listen to me. And a lot of people say, well, you're not a patriot. You must be Mossad because you called out Mike Lindell. No, I'm telling you truth you should look at. You shouldn't care how I sound. You shouldn't care that I cuss. You shouldn't care that I'm a Jew. You shouldn't care that I'm balding. You shouldn't care that I look like Chris Hemsworth, Thor. I'm his body double. No, seriously, I'm his body double. Did you know that? Have you ever seen us both naked standing in the same room and looked at our calves? I'm his exact body double. I'm telling you. I'm his stand-in for all his calf shots. Most people don't know that. But do I brag about myself? No, I don't brag about myself.
Jovon, I'm saluting you. I'm wearing my Jovon. I'm channeling you today. I've got my blue glasses on that I wear when I'm in front of a computer for hours. Look, there we go.
This is twins. A war.
I'm twinning.
You want to know what's worse? I don't like people. You know why I don't like people? Because so many people have forgot what it meant to be loyal and to be honest and to be a good friend. I'm the guy you can call at 4 o'clock in the morning and say, I'm in a world of hurt, come help me out. And I'm going to be there. We've lost so much. And in that, it's made me so narrow in it and so tainted as I watch
Hyper-focused.
it. I don't have any room for politics and I don't have any room for niceties, but I got a hell of a lot of capacity to get to it and fix it. And here it is. Now go. That's it. That's
Yeah.
it. And it makes me not liked. I accept that. But I got to tell you, my audience knows it. I struggled. I struggled for 2 years knowing what was up with Michael and those stuff and never said anything. And this is probably the most I've ever said. But we can't take it anymore. We're 6 years down the freaking road in this.
I know.
6 years.
Jovan,
the
I say it all
GOP,
the time. We're buried. Our republic's buried. We're under the gravestone right now.
it's a game. I'll tell you why. The GOP filed, it was either 71 or 72 lawsuits to actually get the ballots. The whole thing that we've been saying for the whole time, they filed the lawsuits 12 hours before the statute of limitations expired.
Wait. What?
But they did file the lawsuits. They actually, no, going back to 2020, when they're saying they're filing suits for irregularities, GOP did it. They did it just before the statute of limitations expired. So even by the time they announced it, the states and or counties couldn't have even been served yet, which they have to be served. And they just got rid of them. Oh, I didn't know you hadn't served me yet. It's all political theater. Look, they tell you this every day. It's why Hillary can have a server and basically say, I didn't know.
Yeah.
So when you have voluntary guidelines for all voting, and it comes down to some little tech, well, I put that on because I thought it needed a virus software, and it opens the door. See, it's only a bunch of opportunities, but when that opportunity is explored, it happens. And I'll tell you how it happens. In the voting company's manuals, it says, if you're going to run third-party software so you can see the results in real time. Now, what politician doesn't want to see results in real time? We've been trained to do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
They say in their manual, just connect it to your LAN. Okay. So that's your network at the county. Okay. Now it's technically not the internet. It is literally the network at your county. But is your county connected to the internet? Yes. And the moment they plug it in, and they use all these little secondary softwares to see how many poll workers we got and how many of this, it wakes up a back door that's there. And in that back door, bad things can happen. But then we don't look for simple things. We don't look for the fact that, our voting machines, you think when you go in and you mark your ballot and you go over and you hand it to somebody, it was scanned and you voted. You didn't vote. You just cast a ballot.
Right.
That doesn't count anywhere. It goes into a little card. Then what they call counting is when that card is transferred. When they say we can't count the mail-in ballots before the night of the election, but when the results come out, you see them start from the mail-in. How do they do that? Because they can scan it in. They see every vote. They know every vote's in there. It's just technically not counted because the definition of count is taking that card and going down to MTech or the center and transferring it in. Well, what can be on a card? You can take, and by the way, many states had all of their election cards stolen. The FBI did, even Arizona. They found the guy, took all the cards. You can take a software program in this card. You can get it on that card. They don't check to see if that card has a program in it. They stick it in the machine. It gets in all the data. When it pulls out and goes to the next machine, it triggers that software. It can change everything. It transfers only what it wants to transfer. They pull that card back out. Where's the program? It never hit a machine because it wasn't resident on the machine. It's resident to run on the card. And we don't check any of those. But yet, almost every swing state had a theft of their electronic cards before the 2020 election. But nobody checked. FBI dropped the ball. They had a guy in Maricopa, stole the voting rolls, stole all the cards. They said they raided his house the day of the election. They never accounted for the cards. Or you never look for simple things like, We had COVID. So you got your voting precincts. They take out this little card, supposed to go with 2 people, and it's going to go down to MTech, 60 miles across town. It's got to be 2 people. First time in history, Arizona says, we're worried about COVID. We love you. We don't want you to get sick. And we know we told you there's 200 special places you can vote in person because we made sure you don't get sick there. But damn, if you take the cards, you may get sick. So we're going to pick up the cards and we'll take them down. There's a 2-hour gap window in there.
Mm-hmm. A lot of fun things can happen in 2 hours.
In that window. And all the stuff, all the data they need is on that card. But again, that's the machines. We saw it on TV. Do you know that was the first time in history that the American public saw the chyron change in real time?
Yeah.
Now, I want you to think about that. They got to convince America the machines did it. We're all come from production. You know, it's line producers and all this stuff. So on TV, they do it. Yeah. So-called, well, I watched it. They subtract here and did it here. It was all a con because that's the way they convinced you it was the machines. You fucking saw it on TV. Sorry.
Trump pushed that out too. I mean, he had Truth Social's post of that.
It's trash, but it's what we assume. That's not even the voting data. It's not even Canvas data or certified data. It's Edison data. And it is the approximation of 3,000 college students calling, dialing for information because they're supposedly not connected and filling it in. But it's never been the vote, ever. It's entertainment. It's never been the actual vote. But because it's news and you believe news is real, and if it's on the news, we've seen it, it must be real. It's not the vote. It's never been the vote. So they can take 300 here and put them back here, and they got everybody talking. I saw the vote swap. You saw nothing. You saw what they wanted you to see. Right. And therefore, it's the machines. Also, by the way, you remember the little F chart?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
What is that? Well, because nobody actually did audits and understood, in your election, let's take Maricopa, you got 30 days of mail-in ballots. Mm-hmm. And then the election. What votes do they count first? The election day.
Yeah, election day, right.
They scan in all the mail-in ballots. They're technically already counted. But what day do they count first? They count election day. They got to know that end number. That's the hidden number. Right. Now, how do they put in the votes so election day, let's just do the math. You got 200 places. You know that there's only going to be about 150,000 people. We're going to use 100,000, 100 places. You got 150,000 people voting, right? And so that's only going to be about 150 votes, right? If we divide them up equally, 150,000 votes, 100 places. So that's not going to move the needle very much. But if you look at election day, their tally machines run in about 140,000 votes, 10 times that. As soon as they take that card and stuff and plug it in, how does that chart go? Fing! Yep. And they run those all in last. That F is in everything. It's always been because they're running in those big batches of mail-in votes. They technically can't. That's the last thing they run in. So it always goes like that. But yet they said, there's the fraud. They inserted it. Now, isn't it convenient that matched on TV? Oh, we saw it jump. We saw it do this. And then
Jovon, did Trump lose or did he win?
Trump won. But it is not the machines that changed the vote.
Right. Look, so it has everything to do with voter rolls primarily.
What kind of gun do you carry?
It depends on the mood I'm in. I've got several.
Okay, your bedstand. What's in your bedstand?
I've got several there. I've got a pump action. I've got a 9mm, a 38 special.
Okay, so get a 9mm. How long have you owned it?
My Glock, I think it's probably 4 years now.
Okay. Yeah. When was the last time your Glock killed somebody on its own?
Never.
Okay. For that Glock to kill somebody, can we agree we got to have the following elements? We got to have a human.
Yep.
The human has to have, we're going to talk on the bad side, some sort of screwy brain, right? Then you got to pull the trigger. The human must activate the machine or it won't shoot. And that's intent. So you got those 4 actions. Tell me how a machine changes a vote.
Right. It's got to be in the programming or somebody has to physically go in and do it.
People, paper, or programs always. But if you say machine, it goes over here. It's people, paper, and programming. People, paper, and programming. So let me ask you a question. 2020 Maricopa, 2,600,000 voters, where they send it to everybody who ever registered to vote.
Right.
Okay. Why did they print 4,089,000 ballots for Maricopa?
I'm sure Runbeck got paid very nicely, but yeah, they
But
had to
just
have
a question.
mail-in.
If it's the machines,
Yeah.
why did they print 4,089,000 ballots supposedly just for Maricopa when they only needed 2,000,006?
Right.
If it was the machines. Okay,
Right.
let me ask you another question. So let's take election day, D-Day. Okay, in Maricopa, for the first time in history ever, you had a county for a year told you you're going to use a Sharpie. Don't worry, it won't mark the ballot. But they
Right.
also told you we're going to Sharpies because the ink pens gum up the drums. And so we're going to use a Sharpie because it dries fast. Now, you've been told forever, never use a Sharpie, ever.
Right. Right.
There's not one single call ticket in any state or any counter for any of the scanners that have had to be called to clean the scanner head because of ink. It does not exist. Okay, so now the county tells you you're going to use a Sharpie. They demanded it of every precinct. You make sure everybody on election day votes on a Sharpie. You make sure. They didn't even issue pens. Never been done before. They did not even issue pens. Stay with me here.
Okay.
Then what happens here? You get to election day and they said, don't worry, because I busted Sharpie. We used a special paper. It's called Vote Secure SL, blah, 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 blah. Well, I, as an investigator, what I do? I go to the paper company, Roland. And Roland says, I'm sorry to tell you this, but they didn't order Vote Secure paper. And I'm going, wait a minute. You got Katie Hobbs and these guys saying they're using a special paper for every ballot and you got to use markers. They told me off the record, well, something's up and it's the paper, but they didn't order any Vote Secure. And I had them check the inventory and they said, there is no inventory that exists at Runbeck by which they could print the ballots anyway on Vote Secure paper. They don't even have it in store.
Wow.
So now we get to the election. Okay.
Okay.
They send out the emails and they threaten everybody. You must use a Sharpie because it'll gum up the machines and we're not going to have it. So they get to election day. So when we look at election day, now I'm going to put my auditing hat back on. When I look at election day and we got these ballots, which we had to fight for, that's number one. Well, remember when we had the fight for the drives that they weren't turning over all the drives?
Right.
Well, there was one drive, and this is when Karen Fan, shit's going to hit the fan, and they're finally going to subpoena and put the lawmakers in jail, right?
Yep. I remember this. We were all excited.
Yes, took months, and they're finally going to turn it over. Well, they turned over the drive. They said in court, well, you didn't ask for what we archived. You just asked for the drives from the election. You didn't ask for what we archived, and these are the archived ones. Well, we get that drive. When we first get that drive, we can't make heads or tails of it. Many of us, we cannot make heads or tails. It's supposed to be in a JSON format, high-end format, really big. I reach out to even the creation team of JSON, say, what are we seeing here? And they go, these files have been intentionally corrupted so they cannot be read. Okay, so we're fighting back with the county. Stay with me. I'm going to connect all this for you. We finally fight. They give us new data. New data. On this drive, here's the things about the drive. This drive is not like any other drive in the election. Not a one. Not at all. And all the data on it's just kind of lumped in there. It's not in the file format of the election, but it's supposed to be the election. And it's just kind of dumped on it. And it's just random drive. So it doesn't even look like anything. Finally, we can see what you've have come to know as the cast vote record.
Right.
Now, the cast vote record is it's many things. There's a pre-image of the ballot. That means here is Ann's ballot, and it goes into the machine. It basically snaps a photo of that scan-wise.
Yep.
Then there's a part in between. If they have to make any changes, then there's this little gap in between. It's for after adjudication. And then that means if they had to, make changes or, undervotes or whatever, and then it goes into the election management file, and then there's a management file. Well, when we get these things, we notice something very interesting. We had a ballot because they obviously handed it to us in the audit. I got election day ballots. But in the machines, which was on the drive, there is not a single image that can prove these paper ballots ever went into the machine.
Wow.
We have a post image. It's an image that says, well, this is what the ballot was after the fact. Well, when we take those, we'll just, for shits and giggles, call it 150,000. When we take those 150,000 ballots, which was the amount that was missing, which happened to be on this random drive, and we compare them to 1.9 million others of how they should have looked in the system, we have all the pre-images of those, and we have no pre-image here. But then we notice something else about it. The type font has changed. It's blown up. It's a whole different format. Well, in the blowing up of that format, what we can't see is it was this machine, this precinct, this time, this ballot in sequence. It's all the header at the top. Well,
Sure.
The reason the type was changed is it's blown up just enough not to see the header. So we can't really tell when they came in.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't stop there. All of a sudden, as we're looking at the records and I'm pulling all of the files of when they scan them in, we find that number, right? We find that number actually appeared in the system December 8th and 9th.
That's after the election.
That's right. So all of a sudden we find December 8th and 9th. So we start backtrailing it. The county tells us they need 10 extra days to count the votes. We have so many mail-in ballots. We need 10 extra days to count. Remember that?
I do.
Okay. So here's the normal procedure. They have 10 tally machines running this stuff through, 10 of them.
Yep.
And they can run through about 140,000 ballots at a time. So we know for 30 days, this is what happened. Now we get to those 10 extra days. In those 10 extra days, we find an interesting thing. We have one day that's, I think, 138,000, I'm recalling from memory, and another day that might be 80,000. But then the rest of the days, it averages to about 5,000. We thought you had all these ballots to count. And then we find something interesting.
Yeah.
If you have to do all this counting, you're going to use all your machines, right? No. Instead of using 10 tally machines, they only use 2.
Mm-hmm.
So if you were weighted over, how you do it? And then we just look at the numbers. Well, the county certified it on November 20th, and you said this was the certification of the count. But by the way, based on what you said you had to run, what we know you ran afterward, you could have never had that number. You were off by 200,000. How'd you get that damn number? Then we go to the 30th when it's Ducey and Hobbs. Ducey and Hobbs. They certify the exact count. Remember, that's just before the Electoral College.
Right.
Now, that certified number, they're still off by 180,000. Where'd that number come from? Then you get to the 8th and the 9th, which is when they're going to do the Election Assistance Commission. They're going to be up there in D.C. and they do the certification. You remember Ducey's phone ringing? It was the president's ringtone.
Yeah, and he didn't answer it.
He didn't answer it. Here's why he didn't answer it. He certified it. They never had the numbers. They were missing. Right? Well, all of those numbers came in a month later. Now get ready. 30 days of voting. This is how it backfired on them. You got hundreds of people picking up ballots, shuttling them back and forth. So we got the drop box of where it is or the precinct. We got who took them in and a signature. We got the security code in, the security code out. Who's going to transport them? Who's going to attend the transport? How does it go to MTech? Who is the security guard that signed them in? Who was the auditor that confirmed the number? How many ballots? Here it is, and you transfer it. So we're looking at 30 days of data. So now we look at just the mail. And all those 30 days with all those people, there were really only 2 times where somebody screwed up filling out the form properly. One missing a signature, one filled out wrong, but we got 30 days of data. Now, remember I told you on election day that the ballots came in later, they were run in later, and we don't have a pre-image? Let's look only at election day on chain of custody. Not a single person at any time on election day transferred the ballots, said how many they got. They didn't get signed in at MTech. The auditor didn't sign them and didn't say how many they got. So it's actually totally anonymous.
So isn't that a statutory violation of their election statute codes?
It is.
So, I mean, this is the problem I had.
But see, that's procedural. That's only procedural. We've got to show that they had the time to do it. What you understand is it's really 28 days of perfection and unanimous ceasing to do it. So who gave the order? Oh, by the way, what's the one thing that when the ballot goes in that you think you voted, but it actually didn't count, but you thought it went in? What's the one thing that causes that?
Papers mismatch.
Adjudication, meaning extra marks. Remember I told you about Sharpies?
Oh, the Sharpie. Yeah, Sharpie.
And the wrong paper?
Yeah.
That was exclusively election day. Yeah. And by the way, those ballots for election day, we'll call them 150,000, had an extra 2.1 million votes readable on them as bleed-throughs. All it did was confuse the machines. That suspended it. They did a hot swap underneath. And by the way, none of those ballots otherwise had bleed-ins that they replaced. 100% of election day was swapped and modified.
Wow.
But it's a forced process that the other hand doesn't know what's doing, and they hide it. And they hit it very well. In adjudication, that high rate that kicks it out, that doesn't mean you didn't vote. It means it's suspending it. In the past in Maricopa, it's called outstacking. It would come on a line. They go, something's wrong with the ballot, and go down to Susie at the end of the table. They would outstack it. In past elections, that would generate about 15 boxes that needed to be dealt with. For the first time in history for 2020 for Maricopa for this, they did what's called AI adjudication. They took adjudication from people. They pushed it out to a separate building you didn't know, right? And therefore, when one didn't read, it didn't have to be outstacked, meaning it didn't have to be set over here. But you know what happens if you did set the outstack? Right. It wasn't 15 boxes. It was 2.5 pallets. Each pallet has an average of 45 boxes.
Oh my God.
And they hid it by claiming it was a new AI service. And so we're not going to outstack it so you don't have to do it. Do you think people would have been screaming that we're good people? See, no, they got all these people working, but they do great stuff, and they know they can't do it, but they're used to dealing with 15 boxes. The system hid 100+ boxes of ballots from them. Somebody would have said, holy crap, something's wrong here. Stop. They hid it through that new process that went through by an emergency vote in all the swing states only.
Oh my God.
Come on.
Plus, I think the good people that were trying to actually solve go in, study the problem, and figure out what happened, I think they were also carefully placed in silos, and they just stayed in their little tunnel, ticking the box or whatever it was they were doing, and they weren't really talking to anybody else.
It's a very widespread thing that moves in parts. A.G. Brnovich in Arizona asked me this, who's now dead. I told him, look, give me 10 people. I can change any election. It doesn't take a lot of people.
Yeah.
You just got to understand how it's done. The done is the voter rolls. That's why I'm on the voter rolls. That's the ammunition. Your gun's not going to shoot somebody.
Right.
You can have a bad person who has bad program, but there's no ammo in that gun. That gun ain't killing anybody. Get it? The bad ammo is our voting rolls. So
Yeah.
since we got all of these screwing ass rules and we can't move through the states and we can't get a consensus and 21 states aren't going to turn over the voter rolls, which is another thing. Wait a minute. Russia did it. Russia was in on this shit. We know it. Look, we got all these security reports. We got all these universities. Here, I'll tell you what we're doing. We're going to temporarily suspend use of the voter rolls, go manual for this next election while we vet this out. How are they going to push back? Oh, I'm sorry. Well, that wasn't really true. It wasn't really the Russians. All these reports are phony. Bullshit. We got everything we need if we can get past what's in the White House advising the president.
Yeah, well, that is the $64,000 question, to bring up an old game show to show our age here, Jovan. So, in terms of the voter rolls, how big is the voter roll problem in America? We talk
31 to 32 million.
Yeah, that matches what my IRS.
That
number matches exactly what my IRS whistleblower told me. In terms of how many illegals are in here that they gave tax numbers to.
We had 15 million, 12 to 15 million that were 100 years up getting Social Security.
Yeah.
But the system kept you from seeing how many of those, which we could have ran, how many of those had been still voting after all that time.
Yeah.
They don't want you to see that. It's a uniparty. It's how they do it. It's called fungibility. It's built into the system. So here's the deal. Just take away the bullets. We don't change a law. We don't change a rule. If your state freaking allows mail-in voting, that's fine. We're putting everybody out at once. You're just going to have to call in and say, yeah, I'm a voter. Good, send it to me. It's great. We're going to impugn everybody at once. But all we're doing, because we can unanimously agree with 20 universities, 50 security societies that our elections are screwed up and bad, and maybe Russia and China is in it. And so here's what we're going to do. We're just going to suspend the voter rolls and investigate them to see if it's really real. So for the midterms, we're just going to go kind of manual. You got enough time to do it. We're going to verify ID. Here you go. We don't even need the SAVE Act. Don't need any of that.
Yeah.
Any of it. But we can get through this midterm. And the president has the power to do that. But they're going to tell him, no, look, Cipollone in the White House, in term one, I could kind of see what was coming. I'm pounding hard on the White House for President Trump to issue an executive order that US 42, 19, 70, 64, and 74 and US 52, 20-701, which is you have to keep the records for 24 months, clarifies these records are kept so they can be accessed in case of audit.
Right.
I knew they were going to hold it back. Hell, the lawmakers in Arizona didn't even know that law was on the books. I had to teach them. Cipollone in the White House tells President Trump, oh, no, because you can see how people voted and it's their voter information and the voter rolls. You can't do that, sir. Bullshit. I wanted a clarification on the laws on the books. And that's how bad it was to keep it away. But see, it's really low level and word driven. It's very clanky. It's why people are shocked to find out you have the power. You by law, you can cast a vote. There is not a law that says it must be counted. And they're shocked, but that's what the system gave us. That's what we have. And so we have to understand how they play these rules with laws, work within the laws. And I do believe putting elections under critical infrastructure for the first time in history gave President Trump a divine gift to go, it's my job as the leader of our nation to protect against domestic terrorists, foreign terrorists, and everything else. And are voting, and we want to make sure that everybody that is voting is actually, we're going to settle this once and for all. And we were already told they hacked the systems. We already told they hacked voter rolls in 20 some odd states. It's on the books. So I'll tell you what, we're just going to suspend it. Everybody still gets to vote. Juan, Paco, Del Taco, Shaniqua, go vote.
Just prove you're allowed to vote. Show your ID.
And by the way, if you don't have your ID, no big problem. We're just going to give you a provisional vote. You can bring it later. That's what they do now.
Yeah.
All the rules are in place. We're not changing a law.
Yeah.
We're just doing a security audit of our critical infrastructure. We can get it done.
Jovan, you wrote something about it, and I was looking for it in my texts because you dumped it in one of our chats in the other group chat. I couldn't find it. Do you have it handy where you talk about this? You posted it on X.
Well, I can't reply to your people here. Let me see if I can get into
Actually,
the private
while
chat.
you're doing that, I'm going to scroll back because there were some comments that I
I'm
wanted to.
sending a private chat, but it says I have to include a bathing suit photo to get through.
Bring it
Don't worry.
on, baby.
Ann and I are friends. She knows that. Okay, there
That's
you go.
right.
There's the
All
link.
right. I got it. Okay. There we go. Let me share this instead. This is it. Yeah, the
Yeah.
article. Oh, if I'd had
It's
half a brain, I would have found it.
that's step by step.
Yeah, I'm going to
It's
put it on the big screen
literally,
here.
here is the process. And by the way, since I wrote this article a week and a half or whatever ago,
Yep.
now we can thank John Thune for putting Congress on vacation and saying he's not pushing for the SAVE Act. He just gave President Trump another gift.
Yeah,
And by
here's
the
the
way, I
POTUS
get
path, a
what
voter roll pause to protect the midterms. Opportunity created out of crisis. Didn't Rahm Emanuel say something about that? Never let a good crisis go to waste.
there you
Well,
go. Well, now we can use it. Look, this
yeah,
is all within the law, all within what the states have to do. Every step that the president has to go through, what it entitles, who gave us the gift, how it gave us the gift, and how it's done.
yeah,
Everything has been triggered. President Trump can do this. And it has nothing to do with changing voter laws. And by the way, there it is, voter registration database right there.
yep.
What has to be secured under the system. Here it is. It's right there. It's what infrastructure required. It's just put it in motion. He gets the direct DHS, CISA, etc. They go into the states. It's a simple thing. Admit we've been infiltrated. And I even show you how many states have been hacked, how many states have reported this. It's all listed down there. Just acknowledge it's happened. And now we're going to temporarily suspend it until we can verify the integrity, authenticity, accuracy, and efficacy of the voter rolls. You're still going to run your elections. Everybody's going to be able to vote. Hell, if you don't even show up with an ID, don't worry about it. Get a provisional. That's the law. And we're not going to violate anybody's law. Let's get this done.
That's right. And frankly, I'm hoping that there's some whistleblowers in the IRS out there besides the one I've spoken to who'll actually sign a whistleblower, sign whistleblower paperwork with, I don't know, Todd Calendar or anybody, any attorney that'll do whistleblower paperwork. They're out there.
I'd
But
really
come forward.
love to get Elon's Doge purge of those people that were 100 years old and older.
Yeah.
I'd love to get those and now go back to the states and find them. And I'm guaranteeing you're going to find a vast majority of them voted past their death dates.
Of course.
Right. And
Yeah.
it's hands down that is free gravy right there. And we're just not doing it.
Yeah. Well, you've got people like Audrey right here. I'm losing hope about Trump prosecuting his political enemies. We expected sweeping retribution, mass indictments of Democrats, headlines, dramatic perp walks, and yet nothing.
Can
Zero
I
enemies
address
indicted.
that? Can I
Yeah,
address that?
please.
Okay. What was her name? Audrey?
Her name is Audrey. Yes.
Audrey,
On YouTube.
understand a few things. And I had to learn this very hard. And this comes from me doing what I do and the very time I've spent with President Trump is what you see is what you get. He is what he is, what he is.
Mm-hmm.
But you got to understand, it's not President Trump who prosecutes.
True.
It's not President Trump who brings the suit. The system gives us heroes and the system gives us villains. I always told people George Soros is a puppet. He's just somebody who's willing to get the hate because he makes a lot of money. And come to find out, it was USAID money.
That's right.
Well, you're going to have heroes too, but the system needs for your heroes to fail. That's how they kill heroes. You have to understand the process. This is not a process the president
Jovon,
can
I think
change.
we lost you for a second.
I'm here. Ooh, you got me? Uh-oh. And I can see you. Ooh, ooh, ooh. I don't know, guys. Am I frozen or is Ann frozen? I'm going to hit refresh. Let's see what the hell happens. You ready? 1, 2, 3.
Jovan?
I'm here.
Wow,
I think
my internet totally crashed.
I
And
think you were frozen, and you know what I did? When I
what?
realized I was still broadcasting and I could have just broadcasted, I didn't. I refreshed so you could have your show back, but I could have just kept on talking.
Oh, honey, you could keep going. It was fine. Thank you. That was very nice.
Anyway, going to Audrey. Audrey,
Yeah.
the president can't do that. The president cannot say, get rid of mail-in ballots. The president can say, get rid of federal mail-in ballots. That means the presidency and the Senate. Those are our federal elections. He can't change the states.
Yeah.
You got to realize somebody like Stephen Ricky Rich Richer in Arizona has more power than the president. You must understand where the fault lies. And you must understand how the system does it to us to keep the fixes away. See, when you understand it and you understand the procedures and the methodology, we can get through it. Remember, it's our job to instruct our lawmakers. How can you instruct your lawmakers if you don't even understand? And
True.
that's what we have to do. That's it. It's a very
True.
simple process. Very, very simple process. But President Trump can't fix this as president. And that's why people like Anna and myself, I beat my head on this every day. My veins are going to pop out of my
You
head.
do.
I used to have 6
Relentless.
foreheads. Now look how many foreheads I've got. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I got like 11 foreheads. My hair's gone gray. I've lost hair. It's horrible.
Yeah.
But this
Stressful.
is all we can do is push, 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 and educate. Audrey, if you want President Trump to fix this, it is you that has to understand how is it really fixable so you can instruct other people and lawmakers. That's it. Nobody's going to come in and save us. That's why they'll give us heroes. It's the machines. We're going to melt them to prison bars. And you go, oh, thank God somebody's going to do something. It's a lie. You have to do something.
Yeah.
You have to learn how this works. And what you have to do is you have to talk it up and evangelize and share. And when we all know how they do it, we get the pushback and they don't get to do it anymore.
That's right.
That's how it works.
That's right. That's right. Well, I mean, Jovan, I honestly, you have been such a stalwart in this whole horrific. The last 6 years has been unbelievable.
I'm not a stalwart. I want to correct you.
Okay, what are you?
Well, I'm more like the second half. I'm more like a wart. And I'm kind of like the Ritalin popping stepchild. Come on, admit it. Call it for what it is, right?
Oh,
right?
My God, I love you.
So I'm the wart. I accept that. I'm an ugly wart in the corner of the room.
By the way, if anybody has ever met Jovan in person, I know a lot of your fans have. He's a big teddy bear. He is ADD. He is intense. He is a fighter. He likes to win. He doesn't want to lose. But when you know him, he's a big old teddy bear. He gives great hugs.
That I do. And you
Yes,
do
you
too.
do.
Thank you.
You're a big teddy bear. You're a sweetheart, but you're also ferocious and you have been on this like a dog with a chew toy. And honestly, what you laid out here today, and I know I derailed you.
This is our country.
You have children. I have children. I mean, it's like the future is
grandbabies. It's coming.
Grandbabies. Yeah,
this is about everything, folks. I want you to understand this fight we're fighting now has nothing to do with us. It's over for us.
Yeah.
We've hit that age. It's freaking done. We've lived our lives. This is our kids, our grandkids, and our great grandkids, folks.
Yeah.
You got to understand where it is.
That's right.
But did you ever think you're going to be the generation that 1,000 years in the future look at, they're going to go, they just wasted all, cut off weenies and boobies and prayed to bulls.
I don't want to be attached to that.
I don't want to be that.
Yeah. I don't want to be attached.
But here's the deal.
Yeah.
We're not Rome when Rome's crumbling. We're America when America's crumbling, but we got this thing called the internet. We see it in real time. We now have more knowledge than ever, but we've been taught to get it in bites. We got to go back to old school no more. We got to learn to use this new media. Let's be the civilization that saw it and changed it.
That's right.
We don't have to be the ones that lived through the death of it. We don't.
That's right. I agree with you. That's why I'm still here, despite, like the attacks you sustained. I've had them all. I've had, the fabulous CIA operators like Fanning and company come for me. I've had death threats. We've been there, done that. It doesn't matter anymore. Still here, folks. You.
That's right. It's after you got to not care. You got to not care. I'm emotional for my country. I'm not emotional about this. I could give a rat's ass. I tell my audience, you don't have to like me.
Yeah.
You just have to audit me every day on everything I say. Yeah. But you know what? We're fighting a war. It's a war. And this is how war is. We've got to win. Right.
Yes,
and
it's a war. There's a war in South America. There's a war in the Middle East, but we have a war here on our shores. And
Here- here's
because
the
of these
deal.
elections, we allowed millions of these horrible people into our country.
That's right. For me,
And
I don't look, I'm a Jew. The Jews. I got to tell you, I was talking to my real good friend, Roseanne. Do you
yeah,
know how tiring it is with us having to do our shows and freaking run the country and make the decisions for 190 countries out there? Do you
sure.
know what that actually takes to be able to do? It'll wear you out. Anyway, I don't care what religion you are.
Doesn't
I
matter.
don't care. I don't care how you pray. I don't care where you stick your private parts as long as it's not kids. I don't care what your orientation is. I don't care anything about you. And I'm telling you what, you can even be a dude with the dong and think you're a woman. But in this foxhole called saving America,
Yeah.
I can put all of that aside. We'll deal with that later. Might not turn my back to you, but you know what I'm saying? We
Right.
can deal with it later because that's the one foxhole we're in.
That's it.
There's only one race, it's the human race, and we're fighting for the greatest country, the greatest experiment in the world that work. It's divine by nature, and we're in that foxhole. All this other stuff, red tennis shoes, 7 rays of light, bullshit, all crap to get you distracted. We're in this hole, we're in this war, we're here because we're Americans. You were drafted whether you like it or not when you were born American,
That's
but you're
right.
in it. You can't avoid it. We
That's
got
right.
here by avoiding it. We got here by being productive lives and shuttling our kids to 20,000 elective courses and keeping them busy because we thought that's what will get them the advantage in college so they could go get a $200,000 degree so they could work at Starbucks. You know what I'm saying? It's all a
Mhm.
distraction. We fell for it, but now we're fighting for our country. So right now, all this stuff that gets offered to us every day, all these conspiracy theories, all this shit, worry about your front door and your back door, but we're all in the foxhole, folks.
That's
So
it.
you don't have to call somebody out for being a dim. Why don't you just talk to a dim and help them see what's going on? You don't have to call somebody out for being a Christian or a Baptist or even Muslims, whether it is. Don't be radical, but you're saying we're in a foxhole. It's just about saving this country.
That's right.
Nothing else matters. Nothing else rises to this occasion. The question is, are you going to rise to the occasion?
Amen. And this gentleman, okay, sooner or lady, excuse me, lady, I wasn't looking at a picture. I want in Jovan's foxhole.
Send me photos.
Oh my God, you're so good. Oh, you're so good. You're so good. I might be seeing you here in Dallas, hopefully, maybe next month, trying to put something together. So we'll see. At least I'll be
here.
coming to Texas. I got to give Doc Pete a hug too. He went
Yeah.
through, he gave a good fight yesterday.
Look, I want you to know that you go through the same thing. People will say, she's an asset, she's CIA, she's Mossad, she's Muslim, she's this.
Yeah.
We all go through it, folks. We're all called names
Oh yeah.
and whatever, right?
I'd like to see that government paycheck.
Grifter.
I'd like to see that government paycheck and that government pension if I'm an asset.
You better believe it.
I don't know where that money's going.
Yeah. Oh, well, it's going to Social Security, and folks, stop with the crap.
It is.
Right? It's so easy to point names. It's so easy to be in chat and bitch and moan. I just want you to know 6 years bitching and moaning didn't get us anywhere, but the balls we have moved is from action.
That's
Learn
right.
action. And you know what? Nobody is going to fix it for you.
That's right.
Nobody.
That's exactly
not
right.
Q, not R, not S, not TUVWXYZ. None of them. There are no secret satellite transponders in the ballots. Where would they stick the batteries, dumbass? None of that. It's us. We are the cure. We're the curse. Yep. We're the cure. You got to decide what side you're on.
That's it, right. Pick a side. Jovan, adore you. Thank you so much for coming on. This was a great show.
Thank you.
It really was very informative. I learned stuff in real time, which was just epic. I didn't understand the fact that if you rounded up every bad guy all over the world that was interfering in our elections, there's nothing we can do about it.
We can't do shit. It's not in our jurisdiction.
Yeah, it's not in our jurisdiction. And this comment right here, Craig, government can't fix government. That's a fact. That's a fact.
But they are here to help you.
Oh, yes, they are. My golly, I trust my government. Anybody that knows me knows that's total bullshit.
That's right. That's right.
Total bullshit. All right. You have a show again tonight. You are 7 and 7 twice a day. You're still broadcasting and streaming. You're a maniac. When do you eat?
All the time. Can't you tell? Look at me. Tonight's program is I talk about, are we looking at the consequences of culture, that we have a bad culture, it's broken, it's racist, it's all this stuff? Or is it really this conspiracy to control us all?
Mm-hmm.
I did something interesting. I showed people, which many people have not seen, the actual casting call of Tupac Shakur. Now, Tupac, which of course died in a hail of gunfire, right?
Right.
Thug life or whatever, he was recruited and cast. And I show you his casting video of what he really is. And then I explain to you how our system does this to us into a new type of slavery and what it is. And that's what I cover at 7 p.m. It's very interesting. I just show you the facts.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's exciting. That's something new and different besides the monotony of election thievery.
It's the same thing. It's the same thing. It's like we don't fix it unless we fix our elections and we give them right title and interest to do it. And you got to, if you can't see how the system does it, you can't call it out and fix it.
That's right.
And it's a shame. I used the jumping off point I used is these two 13 and 14-year-olds that raped the 12-year-old little girl, right, in Miami. That's the jumping off point I used to teach people what it really is.
I'm going to tune into that show tonight. That sounds very fascinating.
Please do. It's interesting. It's an eye-opener. And you'll really you'll see the real Tupac Shakur before the system cultivated his image.
It's incredible. You think about all the people in your sphere and that we've met and that you see around the world, and you wonder just how many of those actually have been cultivated. You can start to see it pretty clearly. Who's cultivated, who's not, who's really just part of the CIA, Mockingbird media, and who's not. It's all very, very crystal clear now, including what we're seeing happen on social media, right? The paid influencers that are getting paid big bucks to rah, 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 no matter what's going on. Never solve a problem.
We're seeing it. It's transparency. And yes, election integrity, podcasting and stuff, people were stood up. How do you and I talking about elections get banned, but somebody comes out of somewhere and a former FBI or CIA, now they can talk about it and they got 12 million followers. It's a con.
Yeah, it's right. It's a con. It's a con. I've even had my Rumble channel taken down. So that to me is really just, that's mind blowing. Really? I got it back. It took 1.5 years.
Good.
But I did get it back. It's just crazy kind of, this is where we're at. So anyhow, they don't want us talking, Jovan, but it's great to be able to talk to you today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, dear, for having me.
Adore. Thank you. Yep. And you guys, Jovan, you can follow you. They can follow you on your X profile. I had it up there. It's Jovan H. Pulitzer, 1L for Pulitzer, folks. And you've got other websites, but get on his X, and he streams twice a day. So don't miss his shows, especially the morning ones. They're entertaining. He's full of energy. I don't know how he does it. 7 a.m. Central, so 8 o'clock Eastern, 8 p.m. Eastern, 8 a.m., 8 p.m., or 7 and 7, or wherever you are. He's twice a day, and that's 7 days a week. That's no joke. That's no joke. So no wonder you can't be in 745 places providing talking points all over the country. You're too busy broadcasting.
That's true. I'd rather be with real people than at any of that. I really would.
Yeah, I know. God bless you, Jovan. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Take care.
Okay, folks, you heard it from the horse's mouth. That was an education that I haven't had in a long time. And I learned some things there. I really, I have to atone for the sins I engaged in, because, the way false information gets put out into the ethos is if you can trick somebody and convince somebody who has a big platform and a big voice and is a trusted name that what they're seeing is real, and they go out and share it because they believe it, then that's how this stuff happens. And I was guilty of it myself. I'll never forget January 2021. I was in the White House with General Tom McInerney and other folks. We were on a, quote, tour of the White House. But after the White House, we went to the Hotel Willard, and I had shown some information to General McInerney. He did a live broadcast. That broadcast goes all over the place. And he talked about Montgomery and all of this stuff, and he believed it. But come to find out, McInerney and Vallely, Mary Fanning, Dennis Montgomery, it's a package deal. And that was designed to do exactly what it did, stall the ability to get to where we are today, to what Jovan is talking about. It isn't about the machines. we shouldn't use them, but it's really about the voter rolls. And as we talked about, 30 million illegal voters in this country, or dirty voters on these voter rolls, equates to what my source, very high level in the IRS, told me over a year ago, that we have over 30 million illegals that got individual taxpayer identification numbers. And that they were told to do this. They were told to give these illegals these numbers. And those allow them to get into the voter rolls and to create an entity. Now, whether any of those people knew what they were getting and that they were added to a voter roll, I highly doubt it. I highly doubt they went in and voted. I think their names and their likenesses were used in these dirty voter rolls. So to Jovan's point, and to the article that he published, and it's on his X profile, we showed it on the show, President Trump has really only one way to solve this, and it's to do exactly what Jovan's doing. We've got to clean these voter rolls. We've got to basically say they're all under investigation and go back to basics, and paper ballots, hand counts, more precincts so we can get smaller, less amount of people going through precincts, one day, same day voting. And of course, prove you're a U.S. citizen. That's it. And if we can do that one time, they did it in Argentina, and they flipped from a socialist leadership to somebody who's of a libertarian stance. I mean, this is when, Milei got elected. They went from being a socialist, sort of communist country to a guy who's taken a chainsaw to stuff. Talk about doging his own government. He, practically chainsawed them all out of there. If they can do it, so can we. Are we that incapacitated in this country? Do we not care? And to Jovan's point, it's all about caring. We have got to care. So I appreciate you guys sticking around today. Great on the chat. And thanks so much for the comments. Okay, Sooner, thank you so much for being here. DPFS 98, thank you so much. Craig, you've been very valuable in this chat, and really just appreciate everybody coming by. So thanks so much. Have you guys a great day. I think I am, I don't know if I'm actually streaming tomorrow or not. I got to check my calendar, but working on some stuff. I've been doing a lot of X Spaces talking about what's going on in this Iranian war. And I have some opinions. I think I got sort of bitch slapped by some of the people on the space today. They didn't like some of the things I was saying, but that's me. I call out the source. I don't just talk about bullets flying and ships sinking. I get to the root of the problem. What's really going on? Who's really incentivized here to get this war going and drag more people in it? So that's what I do. You guys have a great afternoon, and we'll catch you next time.
Food security or food sovereignty. Every time we buy food, we choose. Glyphosate exposure is exploding, and people are asking, why is food so expensive? This is why we do what we do. Organic fields, thriving orchards, the purest ingredients straight from the earth. From our farms to your family, we do the testing so you don't have to. You save time, you save money, and our regenerative farms continue to grow. It's time to remove what does not belong. Rebuild with cleaner inputs. Support the farmers with the future in mind. This isn't a trend, it's a shift. We still have a voice. We still have a choice to vote with our dollars for a healthier America today. Tap the link.
Are you ready to take your health back? At vandersteelhealth.com, I trust Purium's powerful superfoods to fuel my body with clean, plant-based nutrition. And in a world filled with toxins, Biomedic is designed to help support your body's natural detox process, even from glyphosate exposure. Real nutrition, targeted support, no junk. Go to vandersteelhealth.com and take control of your health today.